Lewis is training at New Jersey. The former amateur is greatly fancied as the coming world champion, and he's been compared with Jack Johnson. He's got a
Bear had his comeuppance when he met one of the indisputable legends of boxing, arguably the greatest heavyweight of all time, Joe Louis, or Louis as we know him in Britain. Joe Louis became world champion in 1937, beating James Braddock. But 3 years before, he had met the German Max Schmeling and lost.
Very confusing. Now, ladies and gentlemen, meet the mitts that meant to battle their way to the world title, only something went wrong and they didn't. Meet the owner, 14 stone 2 pounds of coloured dynamite that didn't explode. In other words, Joe Louis. He's got a lightning left, but there was no thunder from his corner when he met Max Schmeling, 31-year-old ex-champion from Germany. Everyone thought he'd be just a Roman holiday for the brown bomber, and everyone got the surprise of their lives, and so did Louis. In fact, the only man who wasn't surprised was Schmeling himself.
Pretty sure I can beat him.
You said it, Max.
Winner in one of the greatest upsets in boxing history, Max Schmeling of Germany appears in a Movie-Tone Sports interview following his 12-round smashing knockout victory over Joe Louis.
Now, Max, did you at any time consider him very dangerous?
Yes, he was very dangerous during the whole fight.
Which of his punches did you think was the more dangerous, that left hook or the right?
Well, there was not a special punch, but he used a very good left hand and a very powerful right.
And after the military occupation arrives the Führer.
Schmeling, like Carnera, was used as a propaganda tool by his government. So when they met in 1938 in a rematch, the fight was pitched as a battle between the Aryan Superman and the upholder of freedom and democracy. Neither fighter was happy with these mantles, and neither of them could shake them off.
But he's got to chop Schmeling's head off first. All the way from Tony Pandy to New York, Tommy has come far. On the stage of the Hippodrome Theatre, Tommy does a spot of skipping, of which he's quite an artist.
Previously, Joe Louis had fought the Welshman Tommy Farr. It was the first live foreign broadcast by the BBC, and millions stayed up till near dawn to listen to the fight.
Show us what you do to Joe Louis on the night of August the 26th.
Tommy Farr loses the greatest battle of his career, but he loses with honour. The Welshman, who only a short time ago rose from comparative obscurity to wrest the British and Empire titles from Ben Ford, at once proceeded on a series of victories that brought him to the front rank. This was the fight that really started the ex-miner on the up and up. Next, he beat the great Max Bear, a dethroned world champion, but a formidable fighter and backed by the majority to kill Tommy. But when Tommy won, they said he couldn't defeat Walter Neusel, the German, who had disposed of all the British champions of his day. A rugged fighter who couldn't be knocked out, but Tommy Farr had perfected a method for dealing with the type. In years of scrapping, he had never taken the count. He'd learned to defend himself with all the science of clever boxing, and he had developed the finest left hand of any Briton of his time. And so he knocked out Neusel and qualified for world honours.
Okay by me.
So said Joe Louis, holder of the title. And now they've met and fought, with Tommy Farr putting up a magnificent show, withstanding the brown bomber for the whole distance of 15 rounds, and only losing a most gallant battle on points. Better luck next time, Tommy. You proved that Britain has a real heavyweight champion, and you proved it to America too.
Behind the heroic Tommy Farr stands left and right his trainer, Tom Evans, his friends Charles Barnett and Job Churchill, and his manager, Ted Broadrip. Having faced Louis for 15 rounds, Tommy's not afraid to face the camera, despite his wounds, which look worse than they feel. Tommy, will you tell the folks at home what you think about the fight?
Well, I'd like to say first, hello Britain, and I'm very sorry that I lost, but I can assure you I tried my very best, but the officials thought my best wasn't good enough.
Did Louis hurt you much?
Oh yes, I was hurt plenty, as my eyes will show you, and my hand gave out on me in the 5th round, but I don't want to make any alibis.
What do you think about the decision? Have you got any feeling about that?
Well, I think you'd better speak to my manager.
Well, Ted, you tell us, will you? You saw it all from Tommy's corner.
Well, I think it was a great fight, and we've got nothing but admiration and appreciation of the American public, who were very fair to us in everything that we've done since we've been in America. I really think that if Joe Louis had been handicapped with 2 bad eyes, the same as Tommy, that there'd have been a new champion of the world today.
When Louis met Schmeling again in 1938, colour was forgotten as Louis was given the responsibility of turning back the tide of fascism. The responsibility was heightened even more as Jesse Owens had humiliated Hitler in his own backyards 2 years previously.
Max Schmeling is in New York to train for his long-anticipated crack at the World Heavyweight title. He held it once but lost it to Sharkey in 1932.
Now give me those hands. Now here are the fists that hold fame and fortune for either one of these two young men. Do you think you possess the hand that'll win the fortune?
Well, Jim, I don't know. I hope the best man wins.
Well, John, what do you think about your John Hancock?
I was trying it out, Jim.
Don't miss.
Don't worry.
On the 22nd of June, he is to fight the present holder, a man he's already defeated, Joe Louis. The brown bomber is taking things quietly, dreaming of victory. Among his more strenuous forms of exercise is golf, and I should say that as a golfer, he's a very fine boxer. Tell us if your hands are in good shape, Mr. Louis.
Well, this one is all right, but this one is all right, too.
The brown bomber didn't let anyone down. He touched punch perfection, beating Schmeling in 2 minutes. Nazi observers ordered the commentary cut off when Schmeling's cries of pain became audible after Louis had broke 2 vertebrae in his back.
The winner and still champion, Joe Louis!
The spectre of Jack Johnson loomed large. Louis was careful to present himself with dignity, some would say civility, to the boxing public, but the tightrope he walked was an almost impossible one, placating white opinion whilst remaining a role model to the black community.
Quiet here, will you? Now listen, Joe. We ask you questions and all you got to do is answer, see? Well, after a bit, Joe does get the idea. And is that boy bright? Joe, how do you rate? What do you think of Galento for just toughness?
Well, Galento, I think he's just as tough as anybody ever fought. I think he's good in game, very tough. Take a punch with the best of anybody I think I ever hit.
Joe, do you think you could knock Tony out again?
Well, I don't know if I can knock him out again, but I could try awful hard.
It seems quite safe. We'll have a go at this. Put your hat on, Joe. See, that's too easy. Thanks a lot, Joe.
Staff Sergeant Joseph Louis Barrow visits London. In other words,
World War II took away Louis's best fighting years, of course, during which time he raised vast amounts of money for armed service charities, boxing exhibition bouts.
apparently he won't be doing any serious boxing till after the war, when no doubt he'll be challenged for the title he's held so long and with such distinction.
He refused, though, to box in front of segregated audiences.
Even if he's not in championship form, it's easy to recognize.
In New York, Joe Louis has signed on to defend his world heavyweight title against Jersey Joe Walcott, who followed up with a wisecrack about the champion's recent visit to Britain.
How many exhibitions have there, Joe?
I did 94 rounds of boxing over there.
Gee, that sounds like you were in training right there.
Well, it was a lot of rounds.
Yes, it was. It's like you're trying to sneak up on me.
He retired in 1949 and still champion.
He has held the title for a longer period than any other, and like Tunney, he leaves the ring undefeated. He has defended the championship 25 times since winning it from Jimmy Braddock in 1937.
You think anybody could talk you into fighting again with a big purse possibly around like that?
No, I don't think so. I think I'm all through.
So a great champion retires from the ring, still undefeated.
Joe Louis, the retired world heavyweight boxing champion, recently returned to the ring at Chicago, but only for an exhibition bout. His opponent, Pat Valentino, began by putting up quite a good show against the Brown Bomber. It was a 10-round match, and as you see, a perfectly serious affair. Joe's now well above his old fighting weight, but he's still very fast and he's still very hard-hitting. In the 8th round, he rocked Valentino with a few of those famous punches, blows that may not travel very far, but they burst like bombs on an opponent. Valentino's obviously had it. Watch Joe finish him off.
The tax authorities chased Louis relentlessly, forgetting the contribution he'd made during the Second World War, and so he was forced back into the ring, where he first lost to Edward Charles and then in 1951 to Rocky Marciano, the great man's last fight. I was with him on the evening before he died in Las Vegas in 1981.